Hello everybody, it's Cap Corky here. I hope you're having a great night. I needed to talk about something very, very important, guys, because everyone is pissed off at Larian Studios right now, and it is for the stupidest reason you could possibly imagine. I want you to know that this is going to be a very complicated discussion, and this is going to take, if you're watching this, some brain power. So I need you to lock in, I need you to think, and I need you to understand multiple things like context, like what costs are, and what actual differences between generative AI use is when it's background concept art and when it's actual art. These are three very nebulous topics, apparently, for the entire Twitter world, because they are losing their minds at Larian Studios, the makers of Baldur's Gate 3, and soon to be the makers of the newest Divinity game. One of the greatest games ever made, Baldur's Gate 3, and apparently we're supposed to hate them now. I'm going to talk about it all here, and it's going to be a very interesting talk, so just get ready, guys. It's going to be very fair. I'm going to talk about all the context, and I'm going to give it to you straight. So let's get into it. So here's what happened. Here's what the start is. This is a random post. By the way, this account is not even a real account. He's just kind of like a retweeter of news and stuff. Larian CEO confirms the studio is using generative AI to explore ideas, flesh out PowerPoint presentations, develop concept art, and write placeholder text. He says there won't be any AI-generated content in Divinity. Everything is human actors. We're writing everything ourselves. Now, this does give some relatively okay context here, but I want you to know the first statement up here is not the actual correct context of what Sven, Vincke, Larian Studio CEO, said. We will actually, unlike this piece of shit, by the way, we will be looking at the actual context of what was said in the actual interview. Something that, why is it that I'm the only person that I see in terms of, like, you know, games journalism? And I'm not even a fucking journalist. I'm a random YouTuber who just loves video games. And why is it that I look at the source and I actually look at the actual facts and context of anything before I make a fucking tweet about it? Why is that? I don't know. Anyways, sorry, random rant. But, okay, so this was obviously said to generate a rage response. And boy, howdy did it. Boy, howdy did it. People went fucking crazy with it. We got all kinds of, great little comments here. People absolutely losing their minds. Oh, I'm never going to play it. Middle finger at Larian. Oh my god, I can't believe it. And by the way, when you read these comments, none of them are actually looking at any of the real context. No one watched the actual interview. No one knows what Sven Vincke is actually using any AI for. No one understands that it is literally for the most useless parts of background art. Most useless part. So for before anything else, I want to explain what is this AI being used for. We'll also go into his words, so we're going to look at his context as well. But if you look at literally any media that has ever been created, visual media, whether it's a video game, whether it is a cartoon, whether it is an anime, whether it is a manga, comic book, or a movie, they do something called storyboarding. This is concept art, okay? And so basically, you create a little framework of a story in your head. And then that framework of the story, you need to have a visual representation of that story, a scene. And you need to do this process depending on the length and breadth of your work. When it's like a 30-minute episode on a cartoon, it's still a lot of work. It's still going to take hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of storyboards. And so and those are separate scenes. And all of those scenes will need to be concepted in multiple versions. One where, say it's Batman the Animated Series, one of my favorite cartoons of all time. Batman busts in the room and knocks out the bad guy. You're going to have that storyboarded in like 15 different ways. Batman busts through the window. He goes in through the door. He throws a batarang versus, just rolling and grappling. All of these are possibilities for how this scene could play out. But multiply that by, like, hundreds. Okay? And that's just for one scene. And then you multiply that by the entirety of all of the episode. So that's 30 minutes. That's 30 minutes of scene after scene after scene. That is an example of a cartoon. Now, you graduate it to a movie. And all of a sudden, that concept art has gone way up. Way up. So now you're having, millions more permutations. And then you go to a video game. So now you're graduating up again. Now, that number has gone up from millions to millions and millions more. Because now you have to talk about, Baldur's Gate 3. One of the very first scenes in Baldur's Gate 3, you meet a mage that is stuck in a portal. His name is Gale. Really cool character. You can do several different things to Gale in that situation. You can give him a little hand slap as a little cheeky high five. You can give him, you can try to pull him out of the portal because he's asking for help. You can cut his hand off. You can do all kinds of crazy things. And that is like many different possibilities. Just in one minuscule piece of a scene. One in a million already. And then you multiply that for an entire video game that is based around reactivity. That is based around learning from what you did in previous scenes to extrapolate what the next scene should be. But you do this with a game that is 3 major acts that people regularly do single playthroughs of about 50 hours long, if not longer. And then you have to multiply every single possibility. So imagine how many storyboards, how many concept art pieces it took to create the entirety of Baldur's Gate 3. I can't even imagine the number. I literally cannot. I have no idea if it's, in the millions. I have no idea if it's in the tens of millions. I have no clue. It's going to be, the number is massive though. So now what Sven Vincke is talking about that the AI is used for is not that concept art. It is not. What it is used for is like the random small repetitious bits and pieces of that concept art. Like the texture of the mountain in the background. That mountain in the background's texture is going to be drawn with real art, and it's going to be hand-drawn, hand-painted by the 73 artists that Larian hired. Literally that many artists. That's a lot of artists, guys. But that art is going to be made for that mountain after they choose which thousands of the permutations they're going to use for that actual scene. Now are you understanding what the AI is used for and what it's not used for? It's used for like random repetitious shit that no one will ever think about or use ever. That's it. That is literally it. Nothing else. Nothing else. It is the same thing as using, a robot to push down on a string cheese. You know how string cheese has like that little plastic on it and you have to like pull out the plastic and then you can eat the delicious string cheese? Well, there's a robot that closes that fucking string cheese, okay? It puts the plastic on the bottom, puts the plastic on the top, and then seals it, right? That is what happens to that string cheese. A robot does that. A person used to do that, right? But it was useless, repetitious work that wasn't really doing anything. This is the problem. And because they were able to make that into a robot instead of a person making that string cheese, or at least that plastic on the string cheese, all of a sudden, we can buy string cheese at like, I think it's like 20 pieces in the package of string cheese that I bought, and it was like a grand total of $3 instead of like $14. This is an example of economy of scale. And now I know I'm getting into something called math, which pretty much every person who is a self-proclaimed artist on Twitter has no even concept of, cannot even begin to fathom. But that's kind of what we're talking about here. The massive levels of undertaking for a video game, such as Baldur's Gate 3, And Expedition 33. Expedition 33 was reamed for the exact same thing, by the way. This literal exact same thing that I'm talking about. You know, the basic parts, the most repetitious, useless parts that will never be seen, and in fact replaced by real art after it is storyboarded. That is something that people are raging about at Expedition 33. Every game company does this. And they do this because it is expensive to make video games. It is so expensive to make video games, you cannot even fathom the levels of desperation and desperate moves that CEOs like Sven Vincke of Larian Studios and many other people for other game companies had to do. The amount of dicks they had to suck, the amount of hands they had to shake, the amount of promises they had to make, the amount of loans they had to take out in order to keep their company afloat. And you want to rage at them for some texture on a tree because it's a copy and pasted texture that they grabbed? I mean, it's absolutely insane. Or they're like, you know, saying like, how many different ways, and they might be asking the AI, how many different ways could a guy get stabbed in the throat? Now, you could hire an artist to make 1,000 different permutations of getting stabbed in the throat over and over and over again, which would cost a lot of time and money. Or you could tell him to make the art of the random permutation from that they'll like, you know, ask a computer program instead. You know, it'll show 1,000 different ways. They'd be like, yeah, you know what? The one where it goes from the side to this side, that one looks good. We're going to use that one. Then they go to the artist and they're like, hey, draw this. Make this into real art. That's literally all this is. There's nothing else. So before we get into any other parts of the conversation, I wanted you all to understand this, because you're looking at people like Alessandria, who has, you know, no concept talking about, you know, black communities. Like, I mean, she's bringing like race into this. It's insane. When the actual issue here is that people like her and everyone else yelling about this on Twitter has no fucking clue what Sven Vincke even said. And not only that, they have no fucking clue what goes into making art. And not only that, they have no fucking clue what goes into making a video game. They just have no fucking clue. So now we have, like, you know, thousands and thousands of voices of people just raging into the void, not understanding a single aspect of the actual conversation. That's why I'm making this video. That is why I'm making this video. So let's go to the actual interview with Sven Vincke. This is originally from a GameSpot article all the way back. This is not new news, by the way. This is all the way back in April of 2025. And no one had a problem with it back then, because the people that are commenting on this video, by the way, from 7 months ago, 263,000 views. People are like absolutely going crazy in the comments in the positive way, saying you're the GOAT, your plate armor never rusts, so on and so forth. Why is that? It's because they actually listened to the interview. They look at his comments in full, and they're like, you know what, Sven Vincke? You're right. This makes total sense because you're being completely reasonable. So let's look at the actual comments.
And you also mentioned earlier machine learning, which is kind of like a...
Here it is. So this is where it is. He's talking about machine learning.
A alarm signal in a lot of people's heads. So what are these kind of mechanisms that you're putting in place? Are they on tools that you're kind of moving towards? Are they more people focused, or are you doing, you know, what a lot of larger developers are now doing and looking to stuff like AI and machine learning? How much of that should people be aware of, and how are you going to implement that?
This is a fair question, by the way, because we have CEOs from companies like EA, we have CEOs from companies like Epic Games, we have CEOs from other companies like that, Ubisoft and so on, that want to, Activision Blizzard, that made, Black Ops 7, and they put AI all throughout the entire game. So this is what he's kind of worried about. And the question is fair. The question is fair. He's not attacking Sven Vincke. He's saying, hey, you know what? Machine learning is a very large concept issue. So tell me what you think about it. And like, is there any part they use it for with Larian Studios? And how does it compare to like how other people are using it? Very fair question.
If at all.
A lot of questions all at once.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's start with the latter part. Machine learning means a lot of things, right? So for us,
and then we'll get back into talking.
There's three things that we use it for. First is automation.
Also, by the way, sorry to interrupt the GOAT Vincke, but I will be posting this interview in the description below, probably in the pinned comment, actually, because it is important that people listen to the actual interview, because I think the absolute lack of intellectual curiosity to look at a source is why a lot of people are losing their minds. They either can't understand what this concept is, which I don't think is completely the case. I think they just literally didn't even listen to it.
Task that nobody wants to do. It's the obvious things like motion capture cleaning or voice editing or something very Larian specific, retargeting. So that is basically if you play with different species, you want to be able to reuse an animation on a different species, but they're in different size, and then they're doing certain interactions with others.
So you've already, basically, this is something that Unreal 5 does really well already. So this is something that we've seen in actual game engines. You have a character walking. You map out exactly how it's going to walk. You create the walking animation for what amounts to a mesh. And that mesh you apply it to a human. And then you can apply it to an elf. And then you can apply it to a lizard man. Then you can apply it to a dragonborn. And then you can apply it to an orc. And so on and so forth. That is kind of what he's talking about here.
These are things for which machine learning works really well. Then there's what's called whiteboxing. That's an important one for us because it allows us to iterate more rapidly. Whiteboxing is essentially the stage before you actually redo the real implementation, the thing that's going to ship, where you try something out.
So this is what I was using. This is what I was talking about when I was making that reference to like Batman the Animated Series and making storyboards. You have like 18 different concepts for how Batman is going to enter the room and beat up the bad guy. He can do it like a billion different ways. So you pick several of them, and this is what he's talking about here.
So it can be that you say, okay, well, let's try these things out, and typically that takes some time before you can actually play it. And so
it takes an insane amount of time because it's just repetitious work over and over and over again, where 90% of the drawing, in this case for a storyboard with Batman the Animated Series, is exactly the same. You're repeating everything. The window's in the same place, the door's in the same place, the guy's in the same place. He has the gun to the hostage's head in the exact same manner. All of that is the same. What changes is what happens afterwards when Batman busts in. He's either going to come in through the window, then he's going to, like, do a flip, a front flip. Maybe he does a back flip. Maybe he dodges to the side because he sees the guy has a gun in his hand. Maybe he jumps in through the door. He knocks open the door. Maybe he throws a batarang through the window and then goes in through the door as some distraction card. Who knows? It's a billion different ways. But this is how the iterations work. There's so many different iterations, but you don't want to draw all the random background parts over and over and over again because it's useless work that is not actually creating anything. It's essentially copy paste, but you can't really copy and paste all of that stuff unless you have something called machine learning, unless you have something called, in this case, the weird phrase that everyone's losing their mind over because they don't have concept of context, AI.
So you can accelerate that with machine learning.
It accelerates that.
And then the most exciting thing
this is reasonable
for new gameplay. So, truth be told, we're not there yet. I don't think.
And they can't even use it for the gameplay yet. What he's talking about in the future is being able to use it. So, like, showing the concept for like Gale and like what would happen if you slap his hand or like pull his hand out and you cut it off, things like that. And then like basically what he's saying is for gameplay. You create all the characters, you create the scene, you do all of that stuff. And how many different ways could the machine think to break the game? So we can bug fix and make sure Gale's head doesn't fly through the portal and knock your character out, and then your game crashes and blue screens. Because, the asset is broken. They're trying to do that.
We're
completely reasonable things.
You experiment with it because
and you can't even do that yet.
What you really want is something that helps with reactivity to agency. So permutations that you did not foresee, reactions to things that the players has done in the world.
one of the funniest things is this is actually a great way to think about this, guys. Is one of the first ways that people figured out how to beat Baldur's Gate 3 in a speed run was by killing one of the main characters and putting her into a box and then throwing that box into a specific place. And because they were able to do that, they were able to skip like certain sections of the game. This is one of those unforeseen reactions to player agency that they had no idea could break the game. Because who would think to take one of the main characters, stick them in a box, and put them in this very specific place in the game? And why that would break the game, they probably don't even know. They didn't even know it was a bug, because that's how, that's how gamers are, we play the game like a million times because we're psychotic. And we're able to like think of random permutations. One of us is like, you take like, what is it, 500 monkeys, you put them in a room, and one of them is going to be able to like, type write Shakespeare. That's kind of what he's talking about. So machine learning could help with that as well. But like, it doesn't even really do that. But that's the hope at some point, because it'll help with a lot with like bug fixing and stuff. Completely normal.
They will certainly augment the gameplay experience. So that's where that is. But the reason why people typically have the red bells or the red flags, the red lights going on, is because it's going to affect people, or it's going to steal their work. At least for us, in those departments which are typically flagged in those areas, we see that the amount of people that we're hiring is going up, not going down.
And this is like programmers, artists, everything else. And he's right. They hired dozens and dozens of artists. They have like 73 artists or something on their payroll right now, and they're only hiring more. Please understand, this is one of the good guys. He's trying to do right by the artists. He's trying to do right by the games community. He's trying to do right by his own studio that he owns and literally pays a salary of. He's trying to do right by the art itself, trying to make a good game, not making fucking slop like, Black Ops 7. This is... You guys are not coming at it, if you're angry at him, with any amount of actual intellectual honesty. Because you have to understand why someone is doing what they're doing. You have to understand how someone is doing what they're doing. And then you have to figure out, after all of that, is the context correct or not? There are multiple steps to come at any problem, any discussion, with real intellectual curiosity and real actual focus on what is right, what is wrong, and what is a smokescreen. Now, sadly, Twitter doesn't really work like that. They only work on rage bait, zero context, and trying to virtue signal. That is the big problem.
I mean, and I think it's very normal also, because it's in the end, it's a tool that's available to everybody. So the difference will always be in what you do with it and what people are going to be doing with it, right? So it just changes the baseline from which you start, because there are certain true things that you can do faster. But it's always going to be the people that are going to make the difference in it. And so for us, it's super clear that we're investing heavily into the team and the human touch that's being added to that. And so to bring it back then to your original question.
Very reasonable take. In fact, one of the most reasonable takes possible.
Because I mentioned automation, that means that there's more time for doing things. It also means that there's more volume of stuff being produced, which means that we can do more complex things.
And not only that, it means they can make a game like Baldur's Gate 3, or in Sandfall Studios' case, Expedition 33 in the first place. If they weren't able to do any kind of automation or any kind of busy work fixing or all this stuff with the storyboarding that I'm talking about, you wouldn't get Baldur's Gate 3. You wouldn't get Expedition 33. You would get a game 1/10 of the size. You would not be able to get the games to the complexity and depth and breadth that we are getting now. Because these games could not be made 15 years ago, way before these technologies even existed. You just didn't get those games. You know this because if you play actual CRPGs of the time, actual reactive games of the time, they were infinitely less reactive. They were infinitely less able to work with the world. It was just a limitation of technology. It's really, really that simple. When you are making bigger games, you're making more choices, you're making more stuff to do in a game, you're increasing the length, you're increasing the depth, you're increasing the types of abilities you can use in terms of Baldur's Gate 3, you're increasing the type of complexity there is in every single scene compared to even the previous games of the original Divinity series, and then Divinity Original Sin 1, and then Divinity Original Sin 2. You're basically like multiplying the effort required by factors of like well over 10. Like literally multiply it by 10, then multiply it by another 10, then multiply it by another 10. This is how it works. So when you're able to, increase the scope, something's got to give. Either you hire 1,000 people, which is financially untenable. You can't do that because Larian Studios and Sven Vincke had to put out like personal loans. They had to literally put their entire livelihood on the line in order to keep Larian Studios afloat long enough to make Baldur's Gate 3. Sven Vincke, the GOAT, had to suck serious dicks in order to make sure he could make the game and hire the artists and pay the artists and pay all the programmers and everything needed to make the game. There was no way to not do it. If you had no automation or anything of that kind that people are yelling about on Twitter, the game wouldn't be made. Or, the company would have gone under years ago. There is no middle ground here. You either use these technologies in ethical ways, or you just don't make the game and the companies die. And then all you're left with is slop like, Black Ops 7. Because those will be the only companies at scale not even giving a shit what you think, not caring about ethics at all, not caring about hiring artists or anything at all. And they're just making slop after slop after slop that sells billions of dollars, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars of revenue every fucking game. That is exactly what happened with Black Ops 7. And that is exactly what's going to happen with the next EA game. That is exactly what's going to happen with Ubisoft games in the future. So you either figure out the differences between real slop and someone who's trying his best to make ends meet in today's crazy world with costs increasing, RAM prices have increased massively. He's actually paying a living wage with benefits, unlike, Ubisoft and all these other companies. He's not firing his artists after the job is done, unlike all these other companies. So where's the line for you people? That is the question. Where the fuck is the line for you people? Do you want the game to not be made? Do you want Sven Vincke to not be able to, run Larian Studios anymore? Do you want games like Expedition 33 to be 1/10 of the size? What is the line? Or will you understand the context? Will you understand what the realities are? And will you shut the fuck up and let him make the fucking game? And a good one at that. Like one of the best ones of all time. You guys are yelling about the best games ever made. Oh, they used AI concept art for fucking Baldur's Gate 3. I don't like Baldur's Gate 3 anymore. It's one of the best games ever. Are you insane? Whenever they made the concept art that used any, minuscule version of AI, a piece of generative AI in like a random background of a text or something, when they fixed the storyboard, they took that out and made it into real art. What more do you fuckers want? Genuinely, I'm losing my cool. I'm crashing the fuck out because it is insane to see the level of fucking idiocy on the internet today. No one is willing to look at these problems with any kind of actual view. No one is willing to look at actual fucking context, to think about problems like I just laid out for you. Because if you, and that's not true. People are when they listen to his actual words. But when you read a random tweet 7 fucking months later, well after this entire interview was recorded, just to rage bait, then all you do is come at things with intellectual sheer dishonesty. But yeah, that's pretty much all of the actual, relevant parts here in the video. But the video is really, really good. I will link it and I will timestamp it in the description below so you guys can actually watch it yourselves. Please use your head. Please watch the entire interview. Tell me if I'm wrong. And, I've watched this interview all the way back in April. So, if I'm randomly wrong, and Sven Vincke ended up saying, you know what? I love AI. We're gonna use AI for everything. We're the new Activision. We're the new EA. Tell me that, and tell me, point it at the timestamp, and I'll watch it again and be like, oh yeah, maybe you're right. But I know I'm not wrong because I've watched this interview before, and everyone who watched this video 7 months ago was literally, and for good reason, sucking his dick. Being like, you're the best guy ever. You have heart. Your head is in the right place. You're doing the right thing. You're actually kicking ass. You're one of the best developer executives alive. Never stop doing what you're doing. Why is that? Because everyone watched this video at this time. And why are people upset? Because they didn't watch the fucking video. They have no idea what the context is. And they're just responding to fucking rage bait that is out of context. So anyways, after all of this happened, after this fucking tweet over here, Sven Vincke responded. And responded very, very well. Holy fuck, guys. We're not pushing hard for or replacing concept artists with AI. We have a team of 72 artists. I said 73 by accident. Of which 23 are concept artists. And we are hiring more. The art they create is original, and I'm very proud of what they do. I was asked explicitly about concept art and our use of Gen AI. I answer that we use it to explore things. I didn't say we use it to develop concept art. The artists do that. And they are indeed world-class artists. This is the difference, by the way, between actual concept art after the storyboarding process. So you create like the 100,000 different permutations of how a guy can be stabbed into the throat by the main character. And then you pick one, or you pick like 5 of them. And then you have the actual artist make the 1 to 5 versions that they're actually going to use. That's the difference. But those extra 1,000 before that still needs to be visualized in some way. You don't need a human to do that. Because if you have a human do that entire process, you will never get the fucking game made. Or you will go out of business because you can't pay that many artists. You literally cannot do it. Do you want them to be paid a minimum wage, or do you want them to be paid a living wage? Where is your line, guys? Do you want Sven Vincke to, like, somehow create money out of thin air? He can't do it. This is the reality of the world we live in. It is hard enough for you and I to make it month to month with our jobs. If you are watching this and you even have a job. If you don't, then you even much more so know the struggle of living month to month. So as a result, can you imagine what it's like holding in your hands the I think it's 500 developers that at Larian Studios, and all of their salaries, and it's not minimum wage they're being paid. They're being paid pretty much industry standard, if not better, in every single category at Larian Studios compared to every single other video game company. That's how good they're being treated. So how the fuck can you possibly say this man is doing it wrong? It's absolutely fucking insane. And if you think this, and if you're listening to this, and you understand what I'm saying, thank you for using your head. Thank you for understanding. Maybe I was looking at this the wrong way. Maybe I should look at it, with the actual context. I applaud you. Good job. You rock. Absolutely. Thank you so much. If you're looking at what I'm saying here, and you're still pissed, you're part of the fucking problem. You have no concept of what the real world is like. And that is why you had an entire generation of artists that used to make these storyboards. You might be thinking to yourself, actually, you know what? Let's go with this. You might be thinking to yourself, man, Cap, why is it that we had Batman the Animated Series all the way back in the 1990s, one of the greatest cartoons I've ever made, And, you know, they could storyboard this much, and, you know, they could do all these things. Well, it's because of a few different reasons. First of all, they are not a video game company. So they're working at a much more limited scope than a video game. Second of all, they didn't pay their artists as much. Third of all, those artists worked like 18 hours a day. They were massively depressed. They all were like fucking alcoholics. They used to chain smoke. Look up the lives of artists back then for cartoons, your favorite mangas, your favorite cartoons, and you'll see. And their suicide rates are like 5 times higher than normal. They all fucking killed themselves. So do you want the artists to kill themselves like they used to back in the old days? Or do you want some of this fucking useless piece of shit storyboard backgrounds to be maybe automated a bit more so they can live a fucking life? Because that's what we're talking about here. And if you don't like this context, you can suck my fucking dick. I'm not going to pretend that the reality is not the reality. I'm sick and fucking tired of reading comments from all of these people that don't even understand what it's like to fucking balance a fucking checkbook. And they're trying to judge one of the greatest and most fair video game creators of all time with their stupid fucking gifts, their stupid fucking lack of context, they forced this man, they forced this great man to fucking change his header to a dog just because he couldn't handle all this bullshit from the stupidest people on the fucking internet. You can't even read a fucking paragraph. You can't even be fucking dicked and asked to look at the context from an actual video. And then you have the balls, you have the gall to get pissed off when he says holy fuck. There were so many concepts that were like, oh, it's not really good to say holy fuck, guys. Oh, my feelings are hurt. Bitch, if I was in this situation as Sven Vincke was, I would have said way worse. I would have told you all to go fuck yourselves. I would have told you all to suck my fucking dick. That you guys literally need to go back to school. I would have crashed the fuck out like I am right now. Sven Vincke saying holy fuck was a moment of humanity that was like him just being like, oh my god, guys, are you guys insane? Without saying, oh my god, guys, are you guys insane? He literally was trying to like not like yell at you guys. He was just saying, holy fuck, this situation's insane. That's it. And you're trying to get on his case about this? I would be way more exasperated. I'm more pissed off than him probably. And I'm just watching this situation. I can't even imagine what he feels like. I can't even imagine what the other developers at Larian that literally killed themselves. They literally killed themselves making this fucking amazing game, Baldur's Gate 3. They're doing so again with an even bigger game in Divinity. They're watching this entire situation unfold, and they're like, oh my god, you guys are fucking dumb. Why are we doing this? They might be thinking to themselves, why the fuck are we even doing this at this point? This is, I have no qualms. If you dislike what I'm saying, genuinely, shut the fuck up. No one cares. And you can tell no one cares because we had 400,000 people playing Arc Raiders, which used AI voice filters and AI, to make, pings that were like, pinging out at like random points of interest on the map and everything like that. Now, it did so ethically, and so there's very, very clear context there, but none of y'all understood even that context. So I don't know why I'm so surprised that you guys can't understand this fucking context either. You guys are absolutely fucking insane if you can't understand this. It is the simplest, it's such simple logic, man. You just have to understand the realities of the situation. How much does it cost to pay an artist? How much does it cost to pay them more than minimum wage? How much does it cost for their benefits? How many artists can we hire? Now, what is the work? What is the max amount of work that artist can do in 8 hours? Not 12 hours, not 14 hours where they want to kill themselves like they used to do in the past, but like a normal, like actual job, which they can do sustainably. How much work can they possibly make? Okay, now you want them to do 20 times that amount of work because you don't want any automation and storyboarding? these numbers don't compute. Where is the number? Do you understand how numbers work? Where do you want the number to be divided? Where do you want it to be, like, subtracted from? Where? It's an equation. It's an equation. The number is going to have to come from somewhere. Either the artist kills themselves because they're working 18 hours a day. Either Larian Studios goes under because they can't pay the artists. Either the game just is not made, or the game is like 1/10 of the size. Where is the number that you want? Where's the number that you want? Or they use this very, very understandable piece of machine learning to do the extreme amounts of repetitious busy work that is not actual real art. That is later on replaced by actual real art after the concept phase is more solidified. That's literally it. That is what you guys are fucking raging about. That is what you guys are crashing out over. That is what you guys, holy fuck, guys. Holy fuck, you absolute piece of shit. You have no, what have you created? What art have you created? You stupid ass bitch. You have not created a single piece of actual art here, man. All you do is uselessly tweet every fucking day. Gwen, suck my fucking dick. You want me to go more? I'll go more. These absolute stupid pieces of shit had no idea how to make a real game. It is absolutely insane. It is absolutely insane. Thank God someone has a brain here. As much as I dislike what AI is doing to the gaming landscape as a whole, it is the insane replies going after the one dev who has been the most consumer first and honest is absolutely absurd. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills reading these fucking responses, man. Like, I'm genuinely beyond myself. Like, it is absolutely insane the level of intellectual dishonesty that is all over the fucking internet right now. You just go over this and people are just losing their shit. The stupidest response ever. Bitch, you didn't even read the response. Isabel Thorne, you don't even have a fucking picture. Your picture is from Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 used machine learning in the exact same way. You stupid fucking idiot. Holy absolute fuck. You never created a single piece of art in your life. You have no idea what it takes to make this game. You have no idea what it takes to make concept art. So why the fuck are you raging? Huh. It is an insane world we live in, guys. Because the logic, this makes me worry. This makes me worry about how the world is going. Because you can't even have real conversations with these people anymore, guys. You cannot even, all they do, all these people are thinking is, if it has the word AI in it, it is bad. Now, if you bring up that every single NPC ever made in a video game since, like, the Atari days has used some form of AI. Whether that little AI in, the Goombas in Super Mario Brothers is making them run back and forth in the exact same way, or react to the player as soon as Mario gets near, maybe they'll try to run at him faster or whatever. Maybe they'll shoot a shell. Maybe the little plants will shoot out a little fireball. That's AI. Is that AI bad too? No. Shut the fuck up. Because you have no concept of what this type of thing is now. You take that and you extrapolate it to now. Obviously, it's a bit different because it is art, but it is not actual art. It is the background of concepts of which you're doing, like, the repetition of 50,000 fucking times. Every single scene, the exact same thing. Ah, fuck, I'm gonna have to make this mountain again. Oh my god, I have to change the leaves on this fucking shrub that is in the background of this character doing 10 different things because if I use a machine program, some fucking idiot on Twitter is going to rage at me. How stupid do you sound? It's absolutely insane. And then going back to Sven Vincke, we use AI tools to explore references, just like we use Google and art books. At the very early ideation stages, we use it as a rough outline for composition, which we replace with original concept art. There is no comparison. We talked about it here more, and this is the article. This is the one I was talking about, the GameSpot with the interview and everything. We hired creatives for their talent, not their ability to do what a machine suggests, because they can experiment with these tools to make their lives easier. So what he's saying is, you can tell your artist, hey, you don't have to kill yourself making the brush in the shrub in like 17 different ways for the storyboard. You can now have a fucking robot do it because you're better off doing actual art. And then we can actually get on with making the fucking cool parts of the game, making actual parts of the game, because, this is just random background concept arts for a fucking shrub in the background of a scene. It's not rocket science, guys. It's really not that complicated. I know our IQ has fallen. I know we are stupider now than we were 10 years ago. I know also, by the way, that half the people that are raging about this were using ChatGPT to cheat on their fucking English exams. They were using ChatGPT to write their fucking math homework. I know this because they're fucking dumb. They have no concept of logic because they don't fucking use logic anymore. The only time they use logic is when they're composing their next tweet to rage about something that they don't fucking understand. So they can rage bait more on fucking Twitter. I hate social media so much, man. So much. People have no concept of how it is to actually live a life and actually like fucking use their brain right now, man. It's absolute brain rot, bro. It's absolute brain rot. Like, and when he's talking about concepts, it's like I said, you can write an AI prompt for show me 20 different ways a guy can get shot in the head. Okay, bam, 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 bam. This corner, this side, blah, blah, blah. All right, that one looks pretty all right. Let me draw that. That's how it's being used for fucking like concept art, guys. It's really not that hard if you think about it. It's really, really not that hard. And people are like trying to judge the new Divinity game from this. Oh, I'm not going to play the game. Oh, it wasn't on my bingo card. I'm immeasurably disappointed. By the way, this stupid bitch is someone who has never created any art. This stupid bitch is someone who is just like a cosplayer who just cares about Final Fantasy and Pokemon. Nothing wrong with that. But all they do is this. They don't actually create anything. So how the fuck could you understand anything about this if you have no fucking brain power and you can't use your brain power to, like, in any way, shape, or form, extrapolate what it's like to create anything real? The way people are reacting to this, you may as well have ethical objections to the use of search engines. This is genius. And this is so fucking true. This is absolutely so fucking true. When Sven Vincke made that comment about, like, this is what this akin to using Google or like Wikipedia or whatever, it's the exact same thing. It's like an aggregate. You're seeing 20 different ways to do one thing. You're seeing 20 different sources to understand one thing in Wikipedia. You Wikipedia history of Super Mario, and it'll have like 50 different sources at the bottom. Now, are you a lesser person for not looking at every single source yourself instead of using the Wikipedia article? No. It's exact same concept here. Exact same concept here. And again, maybe if these artists that you guys are clamoring about weren't forced to make the useless backgrounds of 5,000 storyboards before one is picked to actually use, they would kill themselves less. And I'm saying it so viscerally because it's fucking true. If you guys Google or look up, or if you guys are ethical about it, you shouldn't even be using Google. You gotta look up the CDC facts. Look up the CDC facts. Do not even use Google. Don't you dare use Wikipedia, because if you use Wikipedia, that's taking jobs away from researchers, guys. That's how it works, guys. That's how this logic works. It's fucking stupid logic, by the way. My point is that it's fucking stupid. Use a search engine, you absolute fucking nincompoop. Holy shit. Because if you do that, you'll be able to find an aggregate of the data telling you that artists are one of the highest percentages to kill themselves. Back in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, way before we had, machine learning of any kind or whatsoever, before we had repetitious tools of any kind to take some of this fucking back-breaking work off artists, they used to kill themselves 5 times more. It's staggering the level of like alcoholism that is in the artist community, for example. And this is the reason. This is the reason. So understand the context of what I'm saying. It is really, really, really not that difficult. And again, you know, people were pissed off at Exhibition 33. They even gave less context. We use some AI, but not much. Francois Miruz, producer of Clair Obscur, tells Alpine Pace, I don't know, via video conference, the key is that we were very clear about what we wanted to do and what to invest in. And of course, technology has allowed us to do things that were unthinkable a short time ago. This was a team of less than 50 people that were able to make a game that became the most winningest game of the year that won like 1 billion different awards. They used AI in the exact same way that Larian Studios does it. They actually used it worse because, if you guys don't remember, you can look this up, Clair Obscur got caught because one of the files out of like 1 million ended up actually slipping into the actual game files. It just wasn't replaced by what the artist created. The artist created it, but they didn't fucking press the swap file button or whatever. And you know, one of the posters or whatever in the background, one of the scenes had some AI in it because they accidentally used the concept art version and not the real version of the art. And then they were like, our bad. The file got swapped. They replaced it. No big deal. No one cared. Game 1 game of the year. Deserves it thoroughly. One of the best games of all time. One of the best RPGs of all time. But then, as soon as Gene Park, which he's doing a very good job here, by the way, Washington Post, video games critic, one of the really good ones, he brings this up saying, hey, you guys are just like, you know, absolutely fucking shitting your pants when this happened with Clair Obscur. And then what do you get in the comments? You get people losing their shit and raging about it, about Expedition 33 as well. It is absolutely insane. The level of you know, intellectual dishonesty nowadays, man. It's fucking crazy. And reminder, you know, hilarious, the non-reaction on the internet to Todd Howard admitting Bethesda uses AI versus the meltdown happening with Larian saying even essentially the same thing. Actually, Larian uses it better than Bethesda does. It's like Bethesda. Actually, let's hear Toddy's own words.
Big one. I view it as a tool. I think.
Hold on. Why Twitter has like the worst like form of compression? I have no idea. Let me see if I go to.
That's a big one. I view it as a tool. I think creative intention comes from human artists.
I know it's low,
but
sorry.
I think we look at it as a tool for, is there a way we can use it to sort of help us go through some iterations that we do ourselves faster, not in generating things, but just we're always working on our tool set, you know, for how we build our worlds or check things. And so I think if you go back 10 years ago, like that version of Photoshop, you wouldn't want to go back to that version of Photoshop. Like, we want to protect the artistry because that's the human intention of it is what makes our stuff special.
Very fair comment, by the way. He's not saying anything wrong here. He's not saying anything wrong here. Not a single thing. And you know, I've been very harsh. I've been very harsh on God Howard. You know, when he talks about certain things. But he is absolutely correct here. You know, you have to have the intentionality of it. You have to keep the power in the artist's hands. But when it makes sense. If you force the random artist to make, you know, 17 different concepts of, and you have to make them make the fucking brush in the background, the shrub in the background, of the tomato falling using Bethesda's stupid engine. You know how their big thing is the physics. So the tomato falls this way, it rolls this way, it rolls this way, and you know that kind of thing, right? So do you want the artist to draw all of those versions, or do you want it to have some repetition so you know the artist can actually make some better parts of the actual fucking art? Which one do you want, guys? Which one do you want? Because you're gonna have to ask yourself, what is more important? My moral high ground, which is useless in the grand scheme of things, or the actual real context. It's that simple. Anyways, that's my entire rant. It was a hell of a rant. I hope you guys understood what I was saying. If there's any questions, please do let me know in the comments below. But please, for the love of God and all that is holy, watch this fucking interview, guys. I'm even gonna timestamp it. I'll be like, go to 8 minutes 53 seconds or whatever it is. I'm gonna look it up and then put it in the description below. Because if you don't, if you say something that was covered in this video, I am going to make so much fun of you. I'm going to call you all kinds of names. I'm going to tell you how stupid you are. And then you're going to feel dumb. And then you're going to feel bad. And then you're going to feel bad. And then you're going to feel sad. And no one will care. So let's not go through this song and dance. Just listen to the actual context. And if you still don't like AI, that's fine. Tell me where the line is. Do you want the artists to kill themselves? Do you want Larian Studios to not exist? Do you want Larian Studios to make a game that is literally 1/100th, 1/10th of the size of the game that they're making right now with Baldur's Gate 3 even? Do you want that to happen? Or do you want Sven Vincke to go out of business because he, pulled out massive personal loans to make sure his artists got fed? Do you want the artists to only get paid, minimum wage? The very bare minimum. Do you want them to be paid under minimum wage? Do you want them to be held as slaves? Because one of these things has to happen if there's no use of any kind of machine learning for any of this concept art. One of these things will have to happen. Tell me where the line is. If you want no machine learning, that's fine. Where's the line? I want to know. Is it Larian Studios goes under, or is it the artists killed themselves? Which one is it? It has to be somewhere, guys. It has to be somewhere. Because, these things, they just do not compute numbers-wise otherwise. Now, if you hate, the loss of artist jobs and stuff, I agree with you. I completely agree with you. But Sven Vincke is not doing that. He hired more artists. More. He already has 23 concept artists, 72 total artists on the staff, 23 concept artists, and they're hiring more. What more do you fucking want? Literally one of the best companies to work for. What more do you want? Where's the line? Tell me that in the comments below if you're still pissed. And if not, thank you for understanding. Thank you for enjoying, hopefully, this unhinged, absolute crash out rant by me about the idiocy that I've seen on the internet today. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. If you guys like this video, if you guys like the honesty, give this video a like, give this channel a sub, share it with your friends. And definitely, thank you so much for all the love. I will absolutely appreciate it. And like I said, a lot of people are being extremely dishonest, super dishonest. People aren't really thinking, ain't really thinking with their little noodlies, their noodle bloodles. They're not actually using their brain. Their brain is losing wrinkles every time they tweet. So we really need some real intellectual honesty at this point. We really do. So I really hope we see it soon. I'm getting really tired of seeing stupid people, guys. I don't know. I'm just getting really tired of it. But I'll catch you guys in the next video. We got some lovely, awesome games to cover. We got some fantastic indies and everything in between. And thank you guys for enjoying the video.